We're gonna walk out of here with no clothes on, Chris. I feel
Come on now. All right. Just again.
Pardon me, excuse me, but neither of us want to see that. So not happening.
All right.
You guys may walk out with no clothes, but it'll be after we've left.
Right. Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop. Thank God I didn't tell Ellen we were recording yet, because we're going live, everybody. Welcome back to the Small Business Safari. And this episode is going to be freaking wild. Why? Because we have the Deck Kings with us from Outback Deck, John Gwaltney and Bryan Miller.
And Bryan says the gloves are off this time, Chris.
He said, you know what? If you're having me come all the way back over here from Cherokee and make me drive through Atlanta and do that, I better have some good bourbon. And so you know what I did today?
Nothing.
I brought him Natty Lights, baby. Natty Lights.
Lights.
The same crappy beer is still here. And he said, that's it, man. Gloves are off. We got to go. And so with every episode, we got to say it. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming in. So John and Bryan are here from Outback Deck. Have built a very successful deck business. They were two solopreneurs out there doing the construction thing and decided to get themselves together. If you want to hear more about that story, go back to the previous episode and we'll tell you all about it, because we went through a whole bunch of great stuff that these guys have done to get to where they are today. But they've got so many other things to give us all as business owners. So whether you're thinking about jumping out into your own business or you're in your own small business today and you're trying to figure out how to grow and how to scale, these lessons that you're going to learn today will be absolute gold nuggets. And I promise you, these guys will bring it. And we may actually even talk about who's got the bigger deck.
Are we really going there?
I think we have to go there for a minute, Alan.
Yeah.
So who has the biggest deck in the room? Mine is currently.
John just raised his hand.
So
See, the
for the
quiet
record, John,
guy
that
steals
doesn't
the
work in a
show.
podcast.
Yeah.
And I can't see you.
You know,
mine is 12 by 24. 12
My
by 24.
grandfather told me it's not the size of the wand, it's the magic it possesses.
So
Therefore, abracadabra.
Whoa. And
Oh.
Bryan has just waved the magic
Wow.
wand, but John still says I have the biggest deck because they are the Deck Kings. They are the kings of decks. They do it very well here in Atlanta. You want to get your deck done, you need to go see them to make sure your deck can get bigger.
So if they need a bigger deck,
You got to call Outback Deck
that's right.
and let them come out there and service your deck and make sure
If
it's
they
a
want
brand
their
new deck.
waxed.
And I think I never let another man wax my own deck. I always take care of my own deck that way. But if you ever want to
A little
have,
shellac on the
if you ever
deck.
want to have your neighbors' wives over on your deck and show it off a little bit, I think you need an Outback Deck because that's where everybody wants to hang out. In fact, just the other night, I had all my friends' wives were over on the deck, and I had to get them out of there. And I was like, they just kept on drinking. I just couldn't get them off my deck, so I finally had to usher them off one by one off my deck.
Sounds like you got a small deck.
You need a bigger deck.
I need an
Chris.
Outback Deck,
Yeah.
which
Either that or you just haven't maintained it well, Chris.
Have you been ignoring your deck, Chris?
I try to groom my deck. I keep the bushes really low around it
Yeah.
to make sure that it looks a little bit bigger to all the neighbors, so they all like it. What is funny though is I truly do have deck envy because Outback Deck did do my neighbor's deck, and I do look at that.
Yes, we did.
Yes, you did. And so I go out there and I look at that deck all the time, and I have deck envy.
When you were building that deck, did you kind of go, I think Chris can see this one, and we're just going to do a little bit more just to,
No, it was actually it's a black deck.
oh,
So that's part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
It's black.
It is a black deck. No kidding. It really is. It is an incredible looking deck. It's magnificent. It is something to behold.
Glorious.
It's a glorious deck. And with that,
It's
I think
rather large.
you know what? I think Foxworthy has no problem ever trying to compete with me in stand-up comedy. So I think that's good. So let's start jumping into it. Guys, welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back in. And where do we start?
I want to, so you've been talking about this magic closing process that
I-
they have.
That's exactly our
Boom. Let's talk.
Let's
sales.
go.
We did partnership last time. Let's talk about how to make money.
I
All
like that. That's good.
All right, here we go. How to make money. So I went to dinner with these guys a little while ago, and these guys do high-end decks. I would say, what's the lowest price deck you would do today? Just throw it out.
Yeah, $50,000 is pretty
Right.
pretty low.
So for a lot of people, that's an expensive investment in their home and what
It
they
is.
do. And for me in the handyman business, or if you're in a small business, there's always that decision process that people go through. And I always, our average ticket's $2,300 on the estimated side, and then $1,200 if it's just a handyman job. So these guys start at 50 grand. I go to dinner with them and they say, Chris, we have just developed a one call close process for these decks where we will give them a price and close them on the spot for their deck. And I went, okay. Frankly, I got in the car and went, no flipping way. Are these guys out of their flipping mind? Who the hell's going to spend 75 grand right on the
Are
spot?
you actually using the word flipping
I was
on your
wondering the
explicit
same thing.
podcast? What the F
Yeah.
is wrong with you?
Yeah.
I was trying to keep it clean. Well, because you guys are all pastors' kids. Fuck
It doesn't.
All right, here we go. Now we're back in. Let's go.
And there it
So
is.
they said it. So where is the outcome? But let's talk about the process, because as I went back and I told my guys here in the office, I'm like, if these guys can do it for a $75,000 deck, why in the hell can I do that for a handyman for a day? I said, boys, we got to work on this. There's a lot that goes into this. This is not just it sounds hard. It sounds easy because we all want the outcome, right? You want to walk up to a customer and the customer says, John, Bryan, my legs are wide open. Give me the biggest deck you got. They don't say that, right? They usually don't say that. So you got to work them. You got to do that. So can you guys talk about how you were able to build this sales process to get to this point where you've empowered sales guys who aren't you to sell all at once?
Let me give a little background, if I can, just to tell you.
We got a whole episode to talk about this.
Yeah, tell you a little bit about how we got to making the decision that would be the right move, right? Because we actually were really successful at what we did for the better part of 9 years, and there was a catalyst to that. But we in the products that we sell and the services that we sell, most of the time there's complexity. So there's engineering that's involved. There's permitting that's involved. There's a level that there's drawings that are involved. There's a process that we have to go through that oftentimes just takes time. We go out, we meet with the homeowner. We refer to that as the measure call. We're both measuring the deck. We're assessing what they need and trying to figure out, can we provide the service that they're asking for and do it profitably. And so that was a pretty seamless process. We'd try to go out on a Monday and try and get back with them on maybe a Thursday or Friday, kind of that routine, right?
So 3 or 4 day turn.
Yeah, that would be ideal. And in between that time, what we realized is it was taking our guys roughly anywhere between 3 to 5 hours to pull together a proposal, right? Again, they're drawing it out, they're doing the takeoff. We're trying to figure out what kind of engineering is needed. It was just a big process, and there was not a way. So we started talking about an idea about 5 years ago. Hey, is there a way that we could take the deck code? There's a 40-page document in Georgia called the DCA. Could we take that code, put it into basically a giant Excel spreadsheet, and at some point create a method in which someone could put in the 25 to 30 most critical things and give us a number? And so we started that venture of building, invested a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars, a lot of time, better part of 3 years, a lot of focus on that. And we developed a pricing tool. We actually branded it called Deck Metrics, that is able to price over 50% of our jobs on the spot. So that in itself allows our guys to go meet with someone and price. Even if we stayed in the classic 2-step process where we met with someone and said, hey, let us come back, it took down the pricing from that sort of 3 hour to 4 hour down to 90 seconds. So think about that for a second, right? Literally 90 seconds.
Wrap your head around that for just 1 minute. 3 to 4 hours to
Unbelievable
90 seconds.
Time savings.
Again, we're not talking about, do you want to buy a piece of juicy fruit? Do you want to buy a gummy bear? We're talking about a $50,000 to $150,000 deck, and they put the whole pricing package to be able to do this in 90 seconds.
And the great part about that is it actually gives you 3 choices when it does it. So
Good, better, best.
good, better, best, right? So it's pretty phenomenal. So that's sort of how we ended up. The other thing is our guys want to make more money, right? What sales guy wants to come to work and have a limitation, a ceiling on what he can do? We wanted to put our guys in a position that if they really wanted to focus and get after it, there was an opportunity there for them that wasn't completely relying on coming back and meeting with John and Bryan on that. What do I do? How do I do it? And putting in that place. So part of it was also to give some independence to those guys. They can then meet a customer, assess a need, price a job, and ask for the business. And they can do it twice as much as they were doing it previously. Right. So do the math. Pretty simple. If a guy was making maybe anywhere between 16 and 25 times in a month, he was able to ask for the business. Now he's able to ask anywhere between 30 and 50 times.
And your average close rate is in your business?
Yeah, it's dropped off a little bit from the 2 call because we're still in the learning curve, but we've seen it continue to rise. So we were in the high 20s to low 30s, and now we're in the low to mid 20s, like 22, 23. But the guys are still in the learning curve.
But again, for the ticket item you guys are talking about, for us in home services, a lot of us talk about 40 to 50% close rates on small ticket items.
Yeah.
As soon as those ticket items go up, your close rate starts to drop. And people don't have frank talk about that. It is wild. And you guys were in that same Consultant Home Pro group with me. When you talk to other guys using similar ticket prices, I can't tell you how many times I've heard a guy say, "Oh, I close 75% of what I see."
Yeah, your
You
price
do
is
not.
too low if you're
Right.
doing that.
Yeah, you do not. So it's the 20 to 30%. So now you're giving them more opportunity, but the percentages have dropped a little bit because, again, you guys have hinted towards it already. You know your numbers so well. Go on.
I'm just curious how you're vetting your customers. If you're starting at say 50 grand, obviously you're doing a higher end deck. And your website doesn't give me the impression that I start up here. So somebody calls and, they just have a little 12 by 12 off the back of their house. How are you navigating around that and making them still feel like a valued individual?
That's a really great question. It's fabulous. I'm glad you asked that, Alan, because Chris would never have gone to that depth.
Man, come on.
You know what the problem-
you up that you went over one even more.
You know
I
what the
hate it when
problem
he gets a good
that's like,
question.
this is the problem, right? You got the ducks thing on, he's got the whole Michigan thing. That's the problem right there. He can't see the forest from the trees because he didn't grow up with them, right?
He's too busy looking in the mirror.
For those of you who can't see on the podcast, he just gave me the whole FU. Like, that's what that was. So no, I think so the whole sales process is completely flipped on its head. So we've had this conversation. It's really interesting because we sort of keep ruminating on, we really flipped
Great
the
word.
entire apple cart over, right? So when you start thinking about what you do to a business, most people would not look at a $7.5, $8 million business making the kind of money that we're making and go, let's turn it on its head. Are you a dumbass? You must be a dumbass, right? But at the end of the day, I can't scale that company any further because I'm handicapped by the one thing that can change everything in your business. Sales cures all. And when I say that, I don't mean like you don't need to deliver the promise. You absolutely have to deliver the promise. But if you don't have revenue coming in the door, if you don't have sales revenue coming in the door, you can't make decisions and choices to grow and scale the company. If you don't have consistency there, developmentally over time, you cannot build on sand. It doesn't work that way. You must have consistency there. So when we started looking at where we are as a company and realized, hey, if we want to get to $25 million in the next 3 to 5 years, what do we have to do? We want to get to $20 million. If we want to get to $15 million, what do we have to do? And at the end of the day, after we pushed SWOT and SUIT analysis, and strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, threats, after we did that over and over and over, we just realized there's no way that we're going to get the business where we want to go because we have to hire so many people and teach them this arduous process that takes 6 months to a year to get a sales guy up to speed. You're not going to win. You just can't win. So we have to do something different. All right, let's invest in the tool. All right, let's invest in the proposal writing. Let's invest in this. Okay, let's develop training. Now let's build a system. So the answer to the question is this. Listen, the system, the process, it builds the value for you from the time that the phone rings and you answer the phone all the way into warranty. The entire sales process, it starts with marketing and it ends in warranty, and it never stops, right? So what do we do now? We make a promise. We do some things to get to the phone to ring, and then we have a word track and a very specific script for the guy who answers the phone. And that's all focused on the consumer. What is it that you need? We want to help you. We need a certain amount of time. We need a certain type of buying party there. We need these things, right? But we don't talk about how much it's going to cost. We let the sales guy do that. That's what they get paid the big money for. You need to build value. And then we build a process that allows them to go in, and from the time they knock the door until the time they leave with the deal, it's all scripted. Very specific, very focused, very value added, very detail oriented, very focused on consumer. Help the customer, help the customer, help the customer, and very organized and focused on here's how we get the customer from A to Z to arrive at the premium level products that are going to give them the best long-term value and experience with a lifetime warranty. So our decks at premium come with a lifetime warranty. No one does that. So if I look at you and say, yeah, the site doesn't say $50,000 is where you start, but you looked at that deck and I said, you'll never have to touch it again, you would immediately ascribe $8,000-$10,000 to that cost.
Yeah. Man, there's so much stuff to
You better
unpack.
unpack that.
We got to make sure we unpack it. Use that big corporate word that I love hearing about. But let's go back to it. Alan started with a simple question. How do you answer your phones? Here's how you get to the pricing tool. This is how you get to the one call close. It is not, wow, I just listened to this podcast. Hey guys, we're going to one call close. Yeah, we're you know what? In fact, here's your one call close answer. How's 75,000 sound? Let's go. All right, sign me up. No, that doesn't work like that. You've got to back it all the way up, because the process, especially in the sales process, you have to meet that customer where they're at and then get them to where they want to be. And so it starts from the beginning. So you guys invested almost 3 years to develop a tool to allow somebody in the field to get the benefit of that lead that you guys have cultivated and get an opportunity to make a sale. And so that's the ultimate outcome is, as I told my guys, I said, you just don't walk into a house and go, hey, how's 45,000 sound for your bathroom? All right, let's go sign me up, motherfucker. I'm out of here. Whoa, no, it doesn't work like that. You got to work them there. So as you guys develop the leads let's go all the way back. Marketing. Where do you market and how do you market to this kind of homeowner? Who is your avatar? How are you guys doing it? And where are you guys advertising?
Yeah, so I'm gonna start a little bit, and then I'm gonna have John interject. So because we both sort of run marketing in the business, and then we both managed marketing. So I'm gonna start by saying, I think in business, when you get to a certain level, right, there's two kinds of marketing, and so there's the concept or the idea of like sort of, hey, we've got this shotgun approach. Right. So think about a shotgun. When you pull the trigger, it sends lots of little pellets everywhere. Right. And so there's this, hey, scatter what you can and harvest what you can. Right. Scatter as many seeds as you can and then harvest the stuff that ends up being good. So there's that idea. And then there's this, there's like the sort of, all right, now I've got this rifle and I'm going to go right at the target and get. So Chris used the word avatar, and that's great. That's sort of really targeted marketing. But there's a whole nother idea in marketing that I think is partially what has really helped us to become as successful as we've become, and that is brand and establishing your brand. And I'm not talking just about brand awareness, but we have built and cultivated a following in the community around who we are and what we deliver and why that matters to the customer. right? So if you ask the competitors, they'll tell you Outback's the most expensive, but they're the safety builder, right? So if you want a deck that's built safe, they do it different than everybody else, and it's the safest deck there is, right? And that's great. But there's a whole nother sort of box that is out there around brand, and a brand is actually what people believe you are and what they will tell people you are.
Right.
Right. And so we at now at 12 years, we have not awareness around the brand, but the brand has a life of its own. And so part of our avatar is that people understand the brand and they're gravitating toward the brand because they want what we offer that no one else offers. So that's one piece. The second piece is this concept of avatar and sort of targeting and driving down to the market and understanding whom is buying from you, why are they buying, where are they, and then what is their, not just their geographic and their demographic, but the psychographic data around who your customer really is.
Big word, psychographic. Is that a real word?
I think so.
All right, I'll buy you
It
guys.
is. So I'm
It
gonna let
is.
John, I'm gonna hand it off to John, because when we talk about how we actually market today, we just went through gravitating, building a brand new website. And so John's had the last 5 months of sort of intimately recreating a picture of who we are and developing, with some outsourced organizations, how we go to market. So he can talk a little bit more intimately about that. But that's kind of that 3-pronged approach to it.
So who is our customer, right? I could run down the demographic, but a couple of core things that we know. Maintenance free is core, right? So, hey, I want to do less. I want to do something that can generate less time for me. I don't want to spend time doing maintenance on the weekend. I want to go to my kids' soccer games. So we're advertising and marketing from that standpoint, right? We talked about the one call close, but we actually go to brand with that. It's called Quick Quote. And we advertise that we can give you a price on the spot if you meet 5 criteria, right? Which is both parties are there. You have 90 minutes to talk to us. You can make a choice of materials, right? We sort of go down that right.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I like that.
And we've really found that, and through the pandemic, we call it Zoomers, right? So everybody's got a 45-minute attention span, and we really saw that people were asking for quicker, and that was a little more of a catalyst for us to move to one call close as well. So we have an average income of $150,000. Most of it's dual income, right? An average house on the north side of Atlanta of $800,000. Couple of, we have marketing, we have data from what neighborhoods we need to market in. We have a whole, what we call groundswell that we work through. Yeah. So
No, that's excellent. No, you actually, both those answers help. So you can spend right now, guys, we can spend $10 million a year if you want.
Yeah.
I'll do pay-per-click. I'll advertise to everybody, and I'll do all of it. But you will never be able to narrow down. You've got to know who your market is and who you're going after, because all of our advertising dollars are expensive. At the end of the day, I just did my analysis this year. 40% of my business comes from repeat customers, 20% from satisfied customers, 20% more from contractors. All the money I'm spending right now is for those new 20% of customers we see.
Yeah.
And so in my business, I could go out. Could I advertise to everybody? Yeah, but I'll pick up apartment dwellers, and I'll pick up people who really aren't my target market. And you guys just hit on it. And listen, I don't live in an $800,000 house, so I'm not offended.
Let's pause.
Oh,
and think about that for a
He's
second.
a liar, and
totally
the truth is not in him. Again, he doesn't know his Bible. See, that's
Yeah,
the problem.
All right, so I do, but I'm still offended. No, I'm kidding. But that's the point: is you got to know your number, and then when that call comes in, as I call my ladies in the office, the first touch customer super service stars. I mean, there are the service stars. They got to happen. They got to have a script. So you guys have dialed in the script. How many people answer your phones for you or email? One. And so it's emails, and
He
it's
says with a smile on his face,
one.
one.
Damn it, I got 4.
That one can't take a vacation.
I know. What happened to her scaling or him?
Yeah, I mean, we backfill all those positions. We call it strategic depth, right? So everybody in the company has a responsibility to have strategic depth. Who's the guy behind you so that you can do that? We were challenged just as a general principle in business, right? We were challenged by our mentor. Not only should you guys be able to go on vacation for 6 weeks and not have to work, but the person who sits in your seat during that 6 weeks should be able to take at least 1 week off. So think about that. Not only should I be gone, but the guy who fills in for me should be able to be gone too.
More
That's
genius.
strategic depth.
This
All
is
right.
just genius.
It is.
I still want to get back to my question. though.
All right, come on. Let's go back to
There's
your
been
question.
a
We got
lot of
time.
sexy talk.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Sexy talk.
what I'm hearing is in the sales process, basically,
I tried, bro. Just remember,
You
I
did-
tried. And then he just went the other
I
direction
know,
back
I
to the
know.
beginning. But
And
I
you
tried.
said that's what I do. That's what I do is I bring it back. And so basically what you're saying is you're making it okay for this affluent client to spend what it takes to get what they really want rather than what they probably told you over the phone. That's one thing. And then I'm also hearing you're actually strategically marketing to these certain neighborhoods so that the likelihood of a call coming in, it's going to be somebody in an $800,000 house, or it's going to be the neighbor because birds of a feather. But what happens if somebody from a $300,000 neighborhood just sees your website and likes you?
Great question.
Nothing.
So
Man, that's 2. That sucks.
So
Whatever.
so here's the thing though, but here's the thing, right? It was a great question, but he doesn't understand what he just asked.
I think I do. But go ahead.
You might.
that means I'm.
Let's see.
Can I take
I'll
a
be a man
question
enough
off the-
to admit that you answered it better than what I asked.
65% of our customer base doesn't live in an $800,000 house.
Hmm.
Why do you think that is? Because birds of a feather flock together. So we do one job in a neighborhood, then we build the deck for the community HOA, and then we know how to reach that community and we know how to speak that language. And then the value of what you offer becomes exponential.
So suddenly the deck in that
So
neighborhood
suddenly
is the
the-
nicest part of their house.
Right. So we've got a neighborhood where we built a $70,000 huge deck for the HOA. Last week, I sold a $72,000 deck that's about the third that size in the same neighborhood. Why? Because that was 10 years ago. And now we're in today. And the wood deck that the community wanted, they wanted the safety and the structure. So that's what they paid for. The customer, he wants the safety and the structure that his kids run around on at the HOA, but he also wants the maintenance free. So he's willing to pony up and pay more. And it's not a $74,000 deck. It's just $600 a month.
That's right.
So the other thing that we've
We're
started
gonna walk out
doing,
of here with no clothes on, Chris. I feel
But, come on now. All right, just again.
pardon me, excuse me, but neither of us want to see that. So
What?
not happening.
All right,
You guys may walk out with no clothes, but it'll be after we've left.
right. He's on the sale, right? All right.
He's
Good.
He's
All right.
really good.
Did he
I
answer your question?
I can keep coming back to it.
Good.
Yeah, I think that there's this concept is that just because you identify that that's a customer that will buy from you doesn't mean that there aren't other people who will buy from you. The importance of having a proven sales process and a way to help a customer make a purchase is more important than the Axiom data that we get that says, here's your demographic, psychographic, right? That's what it is what it is. But at the end of the day, if I can convince you that the products that you want that are going to give you the most value and the most longevity and the best outcome for your home and your budget are within X to Y dollars and you can make that work, you're more likely to say yes. So when we talk with our consumers today, we do talk in terms of total dollars, but most of the time we're selling a monthly payment. So more than 70+% of our customers are using some kind of a payment plan or a same as cash to
70%.
to buy our.
And you're
product.
offering the financing?
Mhm.
Oh, genius.
Okay. John, you wanted to jump in?
The question was, will a $350,000 year home value, will someone buy? Well,
Alan's refusing to leave. Excuse me, John.
I really
He was
So
about
if-
to.
we can pause. So what I think I heard was Alan asked the question and I've heard John say, do you want the truth? And you said, I think I'm entitled to answer. Do you want the truth?
I can
I want the
handle
truth.
You can't handle
You can't handle the truth. All right, John, what's the answer?
What was the question?
What was the question?
6. The answer is 6. Always go with that.
And now we have crunchy treats to eat for our listeners' pleasure.
That's right. We're gonna let him eat in.
That's
I'm
right.
good. I'm gonna keep drinking.
Okay. me
Yes,
too.
I'm good. All right. No. So what was the question?
John knows the question.
Oh,
The
We'll
$350,000 house.
Yeah. So we have a needs analysis that's, roughly like 30 questions, and then they lead into other questions. But a lot of those are, how long do you plan to stay in the house? We are blessed that we've had a really good run. Home equity is really everyone has it and has been able to access funds for that. So a lot of people were staying. It was the one thing from the last downturn, right? Is they came and they said, hey, we're not doing the move every 3 years and try and win. They're going to stay. They're settling in. Outdoor living is a passion for people. We talk about, hey, what's the dream? What are you doing out here? Who's going to spend time out here? And really help them visualize what they want. And so what happens is as we take them through that process, they quickly come to the realization that they want an Outback Deck. And our goal is to have them say that prior to pricing, right? Hey, we really want you to see that what we can give you, safety, maintenance free or low maintenance, outdoor living is really what you really want. And then it's a matter of, can you afford it? We have a way for you to afford it in payment options. And we're not there for everybody. We understand that, but hopefully we educate the homeowner. We teach them a lot about the structure of the deck. We teach a lot about safety of the deck. Our goal is that when they walk away, they had guidance and choices. And that's really important. So.
well, you hit on a number of things that are awesome. You want to jump in, but I've got a couple things I've got to hit on because this is key. Number one is you may not win that one, but you might win the next one.
That's right.
Because if you go out there and do your sales process and follow through it, and Bryan, you brought this up earlier, any company that doesn't have a sales process is doomed for failure. You may find a way, especially in this great economy, how great it was, to get yourself through it. But if you don't have a sales process, you are doomed. You've got to get one. You better have one now. And if you don't even know what that means, DM me, hit me up, find me customer service freak, hit me on Chris at the Trusted Toolbox. Find a way to develop one, because if you don't have it, you're screwed, because you're just shooting in the dark and going after it. Because we talked about this. You got 10 customers in front of you. We're hoping to win 3 to 5 of them. That means 5 people or 8 people are saying no. That means our guy's going out there or our gal's going out there to do the sales process. You got to get used to no. You got to understand that. You got to train them on that stuff. So that's the part that I think a lot of people don't understand if you've never been in that world of sales, is that you spend a lot of time chasing leads and opportunities that you will not win. And so I say with marketing dollars, bring it down to the avatar. But when it comes to a lead coming into you, you work every lead like it's your last lead.
That's right.
You got to work it. You got to work it hard, because if you're not going in there in it to win it, you're going to blow it. If you're like, oh man, I tell the guys all the time, never judge our customer by their front door. Most of our customers today in our world here in Atlanta come through the garage. They don't even realize what their front door looks like. So if you come up there and go, this guy's low class, no money, never going to do the job, he's got a crappy front door, and he just wants me to put some kitchen countertops. He didn't know. So you got to go in there. But if you go in there with the wrong attitude, you're gone, you're blown, you're done.
So let's just take a quick timeout, because you've hit a nerve, and this is because I've been in sales for so long. This is a nerve that I think if you're listening today, whether you are an owner, whether you work in a business, whatever it is, this is a really important concept. 90% of the success of your business lives between your 2 ears. It's called your mindset. And when you start thinking about your company, if all you're doing is dwelling on the things that are difficult, or if all you're doing is hearing no, and you don't find the victories, the small victories, the small wins, if you can't see the positivity around you, you're going to really, really struggle, not just to keep your business going, but to grow your business. So, you need to begin to live in an area where you learn thankfulness and gratefulness and victories. And so we do this thing in our company where when we start a meeting, we start with the meeting. You need to give me one victory in your personal life and one victory in your professional life.
I like that.
So I want to encourage you guys on the other end of the podcast. And I get the privilege of being on podcasts here and there. And so I love to encourage the listeners. I just want to encourage you, take a minute right now and stop listening and write down a personal victory from today. And then take a minute and write down a professional victory from today. And then tomorrow morning, when you get up, read those things and make a decision that you're going to live in the positivity of that and not the negativity that comes from being in small business ownership. Because I promise you, you're going to get kicked in the head today, and it's going to be really easy to dwell on that. And the reality is that that is not going to help you win today or tomorrow or the day after that. We need to learn how to be positive. And so Chris's point is, listen, we as business owners, we need to find the nuggets that really drive things forward, that are victories in the business. And we need to learn to elevate that in our own face every morning in the mirror. And then we need to do that with our staff and make sure that they feel like they're seeing the things that are positive in the business, because that engine of positivity will really drive success in your business. Live there, get a journal, write them down, keep track, and you'll win.
Amen.
Look at you guys, all you pastor kids in here.
You should just drop the mic.
He is preaching. I know, it's awesome. But total gold nuggets there, and hopefully you guys paused. And now you're back. Okay, great. All right, great. Everybody's back. But write it down, because I was scrambling because I didn't have any paper.
You've been doing that a lot today. Why don't you have your paper and pencil?
Right, because I was so worried about making sure the technology was just right this time that I
You weren't worried about
forgot my
myself.
paper.
You weren't worried about the beer.
Hey, you guys in podcast land, that's what we call a flimsy excuse.
Mhm. So
He-
I
he's
want
now
to say
de-invited.
something, because I'm hearing what they're doing is so unique.
Yeah.
Because you have a kind of a minimum that your target that you're shooting for. And there's two things that are making it work. Is one is your sales process is so freaking good that somebody who's calling you up thinking in their mind that they're going to spend 25 grand on a deck is suddenly salivating to spend 50 or 75 or 100 on a deck. And you've made it, your sales process is so good that they want to spend that money. And then you've made it easy for them to spend that money with the finance. The other side of it is that because of your pricing abilities, you can actually take a risk to go out to somebody's house that maybe is a $300,000 house, knowing that you're not going to be spending 5 hours writing up the estimate and, in theory, wasting a lot of time. So a lot of other businesses are trying to vet that customer on the phone to see if it's even worth sending the person out. You're kind of doing a little vetting in how carefully you're marketing, but at the same time, your process is so strong and you're not really spending that much time when you're out there. I mean, you are, but you're not compounding it with 5 hours of estimating. So you're kind of working it from both sides. It's genius.
Yeah, your cost per lead is very different.
I landed it
Okay.
tight.
All right.
The
It was
cost
like a
per lead is
Navy
very
carrier
different,
land.
right? When you look at it from that perspective, so when you think about marketing, sometimes people get lost in, I paid $55 for this Google lead, or I paid $120 for this Google lead, but they forget that the cost of acquiring that lead is not just what you paid for it. And then the cost to convert that lead is very different. And so do you know all the costs associated with what happens with your business? So do you know what a cost per lead is? Do you know what the cost of acquisition of the consumer is? And then do you calculate in addition to that what you're paying the salesperson in commission? And so when you start looking at it, you realize, man, I might have spent $200 to get that lead, but to acquire the customer, it might cost you $1,200, $1,500, $2,000, or whatever that number might be for your business. If you don't know what it is, you better,
Right.
right? Because
You got to know those numbers, and you guys know your numbers so well.
so
All right. I want to get back to so you spent the years, you developed the tool, you branded the tool, you trademarked the tool. Now it's time to train you, founders of the company, to retrain your brain, to retrain your sales team to go to this process. What was harder, developing the tool or to getting those guys and getting yourselves over the hump of saying, it doesn't have to be I meet you on Tuesday, I'll come back, I'll meet you on Friday. I'm going to meet you on Tuesday and give you a number. Take us through that process, because I always found that the change journey of the human is harder than the change journey of the technology.
you have any Velcro? We ripped the Band-Aid off. We just did it.
Oh, it's got to hurt though.
It was brutal. It's brutal. So now I'll let John tell
That was
you
a
the
leading
whole
question
story.
too. We got
my life
we got
has
done talking
sucked
about
for
big
the last-
decks, and I was worried about Velcro. I'm like,
My life has sucked
Hey.
for the last 5 months.
yeah. 5 months. All right.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, we didn't just blindly do it. We went and found the best guys in the world who do it, and we asked them to come and invested in that. Right. So we had guys come to Atlanta and say, here's what we want to do. And before we go and introduce it to everybody, we want to get clean on it. So we went through the training. We took 3 days and sat in a room and we scripted it all out and we worked through it, right? Making sure that we understood what we were asking of the team, right? So that was the first thing, is the preparation piece.
So you brought in outside experts to help you with the sales process.
We did.
Are they sales? I mean, who was it? Let's give them a shout out.
Yeah, so we have a mentor in our life called, his name's Charlie Gandell. He lives in California. He was a very, very, very successful ran a high-end window sales company. He went through this transition about 25 years ago and figured it out himself, and then has been very successful. And so, he's been a mentor of ours for a long time. We asked him to come out and really help us through it, and he was glad to do that. So that was sort of part one, right? Part two was the launch. So Bryan says, hey, we're going to rip off the Band-Aid. We actually had a launch day. We took, an entire day, brought our team in. We bought some balloons that said, like new beginning, the future is now, and we branded the walls with posters, and we really took it seriously. Hey, we're putting a stake in the ground. This is when it all changes. And then we set a parameter. Bryan can explain. We call them swim lanes. This was an idea that Charlie had. Hey, every 20 that you're doing is a new swim lane. What do you have to have accomplished in lane one? You need to know the script. Simply just need to know the script. You need to go out by the end of 20. You need to be able to recite the script in person in front of somebody. It's just hard work, right? You need to be able to take someone through it. Hey, what's lane two? Need to be able to ask for the price, roll out pricing, be successful in that, right? What's lane 3, lane 4, and lane 5? And we're sort of in lane 4 right now. We're working on each guy getting to 100 customers having used the new process. The belief is that when they get through 100, they'll be in a place where they're running very systematically on their own.
And this must come from your franchising days as well. And that's a consistent number I've heard across floor companies, window companies, painting companies, get through 100, and it's that concept of 10,000 hours or 100 repetitions of it. If you follow my process, it will become your process and it becomes authentic. And now back to good old fashioned sales, people buy from people they like.
Yeah. And again, I think there's this concept, right, that that we, in general, when we learn a new skill or a new task, we begin in conscious incompetence. And then we move to conscious competence. Then we move to unconscious incompetence. And then we move to unconscious competence, right? So what we're doing and when we're walking
Say that
through.
3 times faster.
That's a lot of big words, bro.
Sorry.
I stayed with him though, because I use the phrase, my little birds got launched and then they grab on a branch and they won't come off the branch and I have to go kick them off the branch and get them to fly to the next branch.
Chris
But-
just latched onto incompetence. He
That's all I
knows
got.
that word.
That's the only word I do. Because I do that one well.
Now, my point in saying that is to remember this, right? That anything that becomes habit, typically we just do it, whether that's good or that's bad, right? So unconscious competence is knowing it so well that it just flows from you. And therefore, when the customer throws you a curveball, you can still hit it over the fence.
Yeah.
So you can still bob and weave and do the ollie rope-a-dope, but not lose traction on where you're going in the script and what you're trying
So
to
tell me how you
accomplish.
guys are able to go from that, because that's one of the biggest problems we have is that if you're at that phase in your company where you were the best salesman in the company, and I was, but it's really hard to train because you have the unconscious competence.
Yeah.
And it's hard to train because we all talk about, well, everything that's in my head, I got to get out and I got to get it to you guys. So in this case, you just took everything that was in your head and said, well, that's all shit. That's all gone. I got to find a new way to do this. And I got to believe that that's the way to go. And belief is also another key part of sales. You got to believe it. You got to know it. You got to trust it. So you guys ripped that out of your heads and then you guys became the sales trainers.
Yeah.
So what was harder, you or them?
It's both. And I don't think it's about which is harder or which is easier. It's all a challenge. Because for the owner, the challenge is, how do I let go of my own preconceived notions about what it should be and recognize that my guys aren't, well, probably the easy way to think about it is this. If someone can do something 70% as well as I can do it, they should be doing it and I should not. So if my guys could sell at 70% the clip that I sell at, then I need to have them doing it. And I believe that even in my old system, my guys could do that. Would you agree?
Yep.
So I didn't feel like I needed to keep selling. I kept selling, but that's because I could afford to pay myself commission and profit share and my salary as an owner. And so
Well,
it's gravy,
you
right?
hit on-
It's extra money.
You hit on one big thing. As you grow through your company, number one, in the beginning, sales is key, right? Cash flow is king, but sales is key. Because if you don't have the sale, you don't have the cash flow. And as you grow, you think, oh, finally I got it. All right, we've hit this fantasy. It doesn't happen like that. This just doesn't work. So as you add staff, what did I do? You talked about this earlier, and that's I went out and started selling myself. I'm like, screw it, ladies, just start giving me 4 and 5 appointments a day because we got to get some money in here, and I can afford to pay myself. I can't afford to pay somebody else, so I'm going to be selfish right now. But now I got to the point where, all right, Chris only gets to do maybe 1 every 2 weeks. He's got to force himself to be disciplined enough to do it.
Yeah.
So you brought that up.
Yeah, I think part of it also is just the just because you can sell doesn't mean you can manage salespeople.
Right.
Those two hats are not the same, dude.
Completely different.
It's like if you were in the upper left quadrant, now you're in the lower right quadrant. It is the absolute opposite. And so you could be the greatest salesperson on the earth and you could absolutely suck rocks at being a sales manager, right? And if you don't know how to herd cats, good luck being a sales manager.
Right.
So there's all that, right? And then you know it intrinsically, you know it because you created it and you wrote it and you were a part of it. And so you know it, but that doesn't mean you can teach it.
Right.
That doesn't mean you can motivate other people to do it. So
In fact, I would argue you can't teach it
So-
because it's all in your
yeah.
head.
So
The
once you get it
unconscious
on
competence.
paper, like we did, like, and spent, I don't know, 6 weeks writing the script or whatever it was. I mean, it was just like, get it all out there. Notes after notes. And then this guy is taking it and John's taking it. Everybody's massaging it. And you're like, I'm losing myself. No, time out. 70%. Just get to 70%. Now you have to put it into practice. So now it's not enough to just teach them the script. You have to learn it, swim lanes. You have to get there. But now you have to ride with the guys. You have to do ride-alongs. You have to hold accountability around that, and you have to bring your best. And in the areas now where you realize, okay, that might be missing from the script, or I would do that a little differently, or I need to be able to have a conversation that's at like this level, and I'm like at above my head and I'm 5'8", or down at your neck level. Some of that is just coaching on the fly, and you need to be out there with your team and encourage them and motivate them and help them and keep teaching and keep training and keep deploying, because you're not first cut. You're not going to get it all out of your head. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's so hard. You actually hit on two things. I had this happen to me early on in my career, and had a guy, he was the Tennessee sales manager, and he called and said, "I want to talk to the owner." I'm like, "Oh, this is going to be great. Can't wait for this one." And so I get him on the phone, and he says, "Hey, Chris, I just think you need to come out and take a look at what your guys did." He goes, "I'm in the car sales business, and every once in a while, they say the sales manager has to go out there and kick a tire." So I went out there and I kicked a tire, and he absolutely kicked the shit out of me. And yeah, the work wasn't good, and I needed to fix it. And that was definitely right. He was right. But that's the part where you talked about this earlier, is that you want to be the guy who can run your business 6 weeks away, or you want to be the guy who can run your company from the beach. But you've got to get back involved and let them know that you're there, because that's part of your culture. That's part of the way you train. That's where they get there. And then they start to see it. They get some time with the boss. Like when I ride with my guys now, I just got some feedback from them. They're like, "Yeah, but we're all intimidated when you ride with me." I'm like, "Well, I don't say it flipping. I don't say one word. I just sit there." But they're just all scared shitless because I'm sitting there with them. But when they start to know me and know that, hey, look, nobody's harder on you, because I'm way harder on myself. I said, "Trust me, I have screwed up 9 ways from Sunday. I have done so many stupid things in my life. So when I'm giving you feedback, it's not because I think you're horrible. It's because I know I've done it." But it's hard. So in that change management, that's why I was asking, is it harder for you or them to make that change?
I don't know. What do you think, John?
Well, I think our sales guys would say it was really hard for them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in the seat that they sit in, it's, our guys are, a couple guys sell a couple $1 million a year, right? So good money coming in, and we looked at them and said, "We're changing the system, and you're coming with us." It's difficult. They had become unconscious competent with the old system.
So I've got two questions. The first one is, you hire this consultant, he comes out, spends time with you, looks at your process. What was the big aha?
God, I'm about to do this. Good question, Alan.
Yeah,
Damn
thanks.
it.
That means a lot to me, Chris. It really does, actually.
It's a good one.
I mean, what was the big aha? What was
What is it?
Are you meaning just
From
to
you guys.
clarify?
When he came in,
Yeah, he comes in, you guys are doing well, but you want to take it up to the next level. You hire this guy and he sees your process. What's the big aha, or two big ahas?
He ran the same process we were on before he went to one call. So it wasn't really like that. The aha for us was beforehand. We started looking at the numbers, and we realized
Was the math.
the guys are not giving the price enough. In any sales process, if you don't give a price, what's the answer?
No.
No.
yeah.
When you don't give the price
buying.
enough, the answer is no.
Yeah,
And
so-
we started seeing the amount of times we were going on one call and converting to two call, getting that second call where we gave the price, that number started dropping. We were targeting 75%. It went to 70, it went to 68, it went to 62, it went to 54. When it started getting down towards 50, we're like, holy crap, we're buying all these leads and we're not giving a price to the customer. We can't even get to yes.
So the second question is the biggest change for your sales team? Obviously, you said you wrote this script that they have to follow, but you just now told me you didn't really change it that much other than quoting the price more. So what's the big change for them?
Yeah. So we used to have, we have a customer promise, right? And today that customer promise is called Guidance Choices Proven Process, right? Well, it used to be called Guidance Choices No Pressure, right? Well, that no pressure was because we say, hey, we're going to come do an assessment. We're going to help you make choices. We're going to come back. We're going to offer you a price. Very easy, smooth process. Well, guess what happens when I look at you and say, I'm coming and I'm going to ask, and I'm going to, and I'm going to ask for the business tonight. Well, it just feels like pressure. right? And for some of our guys, it was super difficult, right? They like the smooth process. We're a professional company. We're dressed to the nines when we show up. We handle the process well, right? And now all of a sudden we're going to say, hey, you got to ask for the business the night you're there. Very, very tough, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Asking the close question is always the hardest thing to teach, I think.
Yeah.
That's a good point. God, I said it again. Damn it.
That's
What's good? That's 2 in a row.
Hey, you invited him, so you're winning.
I know. There you go.
There's the victory.
All right.
the
We're running to
victory
the
is
end
he
of our
got me
time.
here with cheap beer.
I did with cheap beer. All right. We're running to the end of
No,
our
he
time.
got
But
you
one of
here
the
'cause
big
we were
things.
That's true.
Stop.
Of course.
But
That's right.
I want you guys to
Teams.
talk for a minute about becoming Contractor of the Year and what you did to become the Contractor of the Year in your group. And let's tout that group a little bit. I want you to pump it up because I listened to how you guys did it. I saw it on social media. It was amazing. I know you guys were up against a lot of competition. I mean, it's phenomenal, man. So you got to talk about that before we get out of here.
So I'll just tell you, I'm pointing to my phone. Thanks for watching, Scott. The owner of CCN, which is the organization where we won the company of the year, he's been watching it. So he was harassing me because I was texting and John was talking. He's like, you need to stop texting and listen to your partner.
Come on, John.
Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you, man. Really love you, man.
Thank you, John.
So we're members of an organization called Certified Contractors Network. And this two-step process that we've been talking about in selling and some of the other language that we've used, like conflict resolution and some of this stuff, is all a part of the organization that we joined a decade ago. And John had joined first. And when we merged, before we even merged the companies, when he moved into the office, like, you should go. So I went to sales boot camp, and he was about 3 months ahead of me. And then when we merged, we pushed everything together. So we've been in CCN for 11 years now.
Long time.
11 years now. And I will tell you, we are at their highest level of membership, which basically means we pay them a monthly fee, and then we can send as many people to training as we want, to their sales boot camps, to their production boot camps, to their business planning boot camps. We get all the conferences are all included in all that. You can bring as many people as you want. It's wide open, but those systems and processes are really part of the foundation of what we decided to do in the company early on. But the more important part of that is the network itself. So, Chris, we met you in Consult Home Pro, and that was a little tiny network, but think about the people that were in that group, right? Think about some of the guys who were core to that group and just how good of business people they really were.
Right.
And so you find in these kind of groups, relationships. John will say almost all the time, most contractors, like, we're on an island by ourselves. So when we stand on the island, all we see, if we look out around us, is just waves. And we're like, I'm afraid to get in the water because I'm going to get eaten by a shark, or I'm going to fry to death in the sun, or there's not going to be any water for me to drink. And we live in this place alone in most cases. And so probably the biggest thing that we gain from being involved in CCN is not just the systems and the processes, but the value of the network of guys around us. So John can fill some of the gaps in around that. And then we can tell a little bit of the story of what it was like developing the business around those ideas and thoughts, and having the help that we did to get to where we ended up this past year. So,
Certified Contractors Network is, in my opinion, one of the absolute premium organizations in America. If you're in home improvement, they are the educators that I point everyone to. If you want to learn, especially if you grew up in the trade and you didn't have a lot of business knowledge, amazing group of teaching and learning, and the group around that are all guys very similar. We have a little bit of a tainted industry, right? I mean, we don't have the best industry in the world, but I will tell you, there are really great guys out there who love to wake up every day and work with their hands and create and serve customers. I'm assuming every day. And these are the best of best. There's a magazine out there called Qualified Remodeler. They do what's called the top 500. And that's all based on metrics, like how well do you do? And at least 50 of the people are in that group have qualified in that top 500. So really, really exceptional group of people in there. Every year they have an award ceremony, best sales guy, best project manager, production manager, best admin team. And they also have company of the year. We were super intimidated by that group when we first came in a decade ago, to think that we would ever be in a position, because we knew what those guys had achieved. I mean, it was not only were they great in the way that they ran their business, they served their customers well, they were extremely profitable. Their customers, their employees loved them. All of them, all these guys became boss of the year and things like that, right? Just amazing. So we finally had guts enough to enter in 2020, 2021. And you have to fill out your financials. You have to have recommendations from customers. It's a whole process that you put forward. And to our blessing, in April in Orlando, we were at the event, and they called our name. We were shocked. We were super humbled. But I will tell you, it was really satisfying. We had team members there with us. We all walked up and staged together, just like the family we should be, and accepted the award. And it's great. I mean, hard work, right? But to have a little bit of recognition to say, well done, that's good stuff.
Well, you guys have hit on it, and I'm going to end this with that. That was amazing that you guys won it. The way you won it was even more important, because in business, sometimes you feel like you got to be an ass to be good at it. And these guys are proving that they don't have to be an ass to be good at it. You can be a good person with good faith, good formation, good morals, build a good company, build a family environment. And if you play the long game, you will win. If you want to play the short game, go ahead, stop listening to this podcast. This is not for you. This is the long game. This is where you got to go. The award those guys won, and I know how much work they had to put to get into it, and then to share it with their team is even more important. And that, guys, is what success looks like. It's not the money at the end of the day. It's not the big full fast boat. It's not the biggest deck in the world, although it could be. It is that family you promote, and getting that award, and then getting to share it with your team. So, guys, I can't thank you guys enough for coming today. I appreciate it. And I owe you guys some bourbon.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, you do.
Yes,
You do.
And with that,
Cheers.
get out of here. Keep going up that mountaintop. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Small Business Safari. Remember to keep that positive attitude, which will reflect in a higher altitude as you're out there making it happen in the wild world of small business ownership. Until next time, go make it a great day, Adventure Team.